Let's go. Conference play is almost here. Auburn and Texas A&M coming up Saturday. He's Zach Blackerby over there on the left. I'm Brad Law. And Zach, it's here. Conference play. And Auburn's going to go into its SEC opener without one of its key players defensively. Hugh Freeze talked a little bit about it today at his press conference. Keionte Scott's going to miss a little time.
Yeah, he came out in a boot, so that's never a good sign. So he's out for a few weeks, it sounds like. Hopefully they get him back, before the end of the season, which sounds like the way Hugh Freeze was talking about it at his press conference on Monday. It sounds like that'll be the case, but you never really know, and especially when a potential red shirt could be on the table too. So we'll see. We'll certainly see what happens with Keionte Scott. But obviously a blow, Brad. I mean, obviously the way Auburn's star positions have been playing with Donovan Kaufman and Keionte Scott, the fact that both of them are down at the same time, and hopefully Donovan's available this Saturday against Texas A&M. But this one hurts because not only that, the punt return game, it would have been nice to have Keionte Scott returning punts. And so that's a question mark as well. So two holes are kind of left open right now as Keionte Scott's going to miss some time.
Keionte had 9 tackles in the first 2 games. We talked after both the UMass and Cal games about Keionte's play, and he was one of our standouts in both of those games. Now, it did sound like from the press conference today that there's optimism that Donovan Kaufman is back for this game, and that's absolutely necessary. The Samford game did give a lot of young players an opportunity to get live reps when the game was closer. Reps in a scoreless game in the first quarter. Those reps matter more than when they're just coming in the fourth quarter of a game that's already out of hand. But there's no question that you need your leaders. You need your experience when you go to conference play, and especially a road conference game.
Yeah, I think so. And fortunately, Auburn's got some defensive backs.
Yeah.
Curious to see if Nehemiah Pritchett returns, do they possibly consider putting Kayan Lee at the star position or Nehemiah Pritchett at the star position? I think both of them have the physical ability to do it. And then J.D. Rim is a similar situation. And Freeze announced it rhyme at his presser on Monday. So I'm actually not sure we're saying his name correctly, by the way. But when he was a freshman under the Harsin tenure, they put him at nickel.
Yeah.
And then he kind of scooted outside this past spring. So, maybe they consider putting him there. I mean, I think Auburn's got the athletes to fill it. It's just they probably haven't gotten the reps because they felt so good about Keionte Scott and Donovan Kaufman.
Would you consider a Colton Hood in that spot? I mean, he played a little bit in the Samford game. If you're just looking at bodies, it's so important. I don't want to gloss over, you mentioned Nehemiah Pritchett. To have him back for A&M, even though it's not ideal that his first game back would be a conference game. There's no time to go ankle deep or knee deep. You got to go neck deep in conference play. But
sure,
it would be huge to get him back on the field for this game.
Yeah. I mean, this is a guy that got a Senior Bowl invite a year ago. He and DJ James both did. And they came back because they liked what Hugh Freeze was telling them, right? And it seems like they've bought in, and it's been a shame to see Pritchett miss so much time on his last season on the Plains, especially when he's got a chance to really impress some NFL teams and make some money in the NFL draft. And he'll still get drafted. And I still think they're going to love his traits because he's so physical and fast, but we'll see. Colton Hood is interesting because once again, I don't think ability is the question. It's the reps. And it's like, at least these other guys have been on campus for 5 minutes. At least these other guys have played at an SEC game on the road. That's just a lot to ask. And look, the star position's hard. I mean, when you're an outside corner, you can use the sideline to help you. When you're in the middle of the field, you can't do that. You've got to cover both directions 100%. And so a lot of that has to do with instinct. A lot of that has to do with film study and just kind of a feel for the game. And it's hard for a true freshman to have that.
Sure. No, that's a very good point. Caleb Wooden played a lot of snaps. In the Samford game. Yeah, he had the most snaps of any guy back there in the secondary. What do you think of his role as we go throughout conference play? Now that he's back in there, had a couple of games to kind of assimilate into this defense. What do you think his role is going forward?
Hugh said Monday that he was going to be a part of it, that he would have a role. So he may be your starter. Who knows? Because I don't think you can move Zion Puckett there. Jalen Simpson, you better not touch him. I mean, he's been great where he's at. And so right now, if there's no Keionte and no Donovan Kaufman, you got to think he's a starter, right? At the star position?
I think so. And I think even with Donovan back, he's probably earned his fair share of snaps. I'm not saying he would get more than Donovan gets, but I think you have confidence putting him back there whenever Kaufman needs a break.
Well, there's enough snaps to go around, right? I mean, we saw Kaufman and Scott both flourish at the same position. So 100%, Brad, 100%.
All right. That's good stuff. Well, that is the defense, and Auburn is going to need those guys in the secondary against a Texas A&M team that likes to throw the ball. They are a passing team for sure. And so we're going to talk about the Aggies here in just a little bit.
Yeah. And look, our friends at MyBookie, they are the place to wager if you are into sports betting, whether it's NFL or college football. They've got a brand new cash out system to give you options to bet and win all season long. They've got a cool parlay system. Let's say you win the first 2 or 3 or 4 legs of your parlay and you want to cash out. MyBookie is the best of that. And then, hey, you can also just believe in yourself and let it ride, but that's just me. The options are good, Brad. The options are good. Yeah. MyBookie, they've got a no strings attached cash bonus to let you deposit and withdraw quickly. Use promo code next round on a deposit, and they will give you a little extra cheddar on the house. Use promo code next round to claim your cash deposit bonus. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. And Brad, it's important. It's important to note that MyBookie's line right now has Auburn as an 8-point underdog. I think, Brad, that's too much.
Yeah, that's a lot. 8's a big, big number for a team that gave up 5 passing touchdowns to Miami.
Yep.
That's a whole lot. And so, but we'll talk some about it. By the way, are you a let it ride kind of guy? I mean, if you
I believe in myself. Yeah, totally.
You gotta let it go. I'm an extra cheddar guy myself, extra cheese, every opportunity possible.
I'm all for that. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Texas A&M's quarterback, Connor Wegman, you like him a lot. And I mean, you've been saying it since the summertime, right?
I do. Yeah, I do. And I think he's going to get – I liked his situation more than I liked him, I think. I think he's fine. Don't get me wrong. But I think I thought their offense would be really good going into the season. And their offense has been pretty good. It just wasn't good as Miami's 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I just think in this new offense, I think he's got the arm ability. I think scheme is helping him out. I think in the trenches, they're fine. They've got the talent all over the roster. Hugh Freeze talked up their wide receivers for good reason. And so I like Connor Wegman's situation that he's in. And I think he's performed up to the task right now. I don't think he's why they lost to Miami.
Right.
They couldn't stop a nosebleed against Miami. That's why they lost. So yeah, I think stopping them is going to be tough from the Auburn point of view.
Yeah, I think that's a fair approach to take. Wegman is completing almost, over 70% of his passes. He's getting 300-plus passing yards a game. He has a 4-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio through the first 3 games of the year. 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 2 interceptions in 105 pass attempts. That's not bad.
It's not
bad at all. And there's good reason for them to, or for Coach Freeze, I think, to praise their receivers. Evan Stewart has a couple of touchdowns. Now, he's a smaller guy, smaller, quicker. But they have Noah Thomas, who's 6'6". They have Walker, who is 6'4". These are some big guys. So when we talk about Auburn's secondary, and the secondary has been very good this year, they're going to be tested against a versatile receiving group from Texas A&M. The matchups are going to be important. Am I on the big guy, or am I on the speedy guy? The game plans are awfully important that they install this week.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if they give guys certain assignments. Like, I think Stewart's their best receiver, and I'm not a defensive coordinator, but I would want DJ James on him as much as possible.
Yeah,
as much as possible if he lines up on the outside. And some of these bigger guys, I think it makes sense to put DJ James on as well. So I mean, I think there's different ways that they can play it, but are they going to ask guys to cover certain sides of the field? Or are they going to ask guys to cover certain receivers? I'm excited to see what exactly that looks like, Brad.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you'll see a more straightforward offensive approach from Texas A&M. I don't think you're going to see the half sugar huddle and then wait and break and get into an alignment just before you snap the ball that Samford tried to throw at this defense. Weigman will not pass the ball as quickly after the snap as Samford did. It's a little more traditional look and feel with Jimbo Fisher and Bobby Petrino.
Yeah, and it's working. Look, I mean, they've got the offensive line to protect them, and they've also got the running backs that you have to respect. I mean, it's a good situation on offense for Texas A&M. That is not why some people are predicting an upset. It's all about their pass defense. And so, can Auburn consistently stop them? That's the answer to that question is probably going to determine if Auburn wins or not.
Yeah, I am too. Eight is a lot. I look defensively. I like looking at stats, like looking at the numbers. Sometimes they tell a story, sometimes they don't. But Edgerrin Cooper is their leading tackler. He's a linebacker. Josh DeBerry is the second leading tackler on the team. He's a corner. And I watched a little bit of their game against ULM, watched a little bit of the replay of it. And ULM's pass attack found some open spots. They took advantage of the aggressive nature of the A&M defense, and they were able to pass the ball around at times pretty successfully. I think that's going to be there, and Auburn is in too good of a position from a confidence and execution perspective coming off the Samford game to put 8 points between Auburn and Texas A&M in this game.
Yeah, and this is a Texas A&M situation because I don't want to say program because it's a little bit bigger than that.
Yeah,
that does not believe in itself right now. And I think when you pair that with the confidence that Auburn seems to have right now, I think it's a good recipe for the Tigers and Hugh Freeze and Peyton Thorne and the running attack. But we'll see what it turns into. But yeah, you're right. I think when you look at Pro Football Focus's coverage rankings, Texas A&M is second to last in the SEC. Only South Carolina is worse in coverage than Texas A&M. And I mean, I think it's pretty clear. If Auburn's going to beat them, they're going to have to pass the ball on Texas A&M. I just don't think there's any other way around it because the defensive line and the linebackers look good. Decorated with 4- and 5-star guys. Hugh Freeze talked about their level of recruiting over the last few years. Talked about that with A&M. Said the next 3 opponents. So A&M, Georgia, and LSU. We're going to have the same conversation multiple times over the next few weeks. But if Auburn's going to do it, it's going to have to be the arm of Peyton Thorne or Robbie Ashford, depending on how they handle the quarterback situation.
ULM was never going to beat Texas A&M. That was one of those games that we talk about in September where we're not talking about the game going one way or the other in terms of the final result. But and that's those rankings and the coverage ratings are after ULM only passed for 95 yards, 6 for 17, 95 yards. One of the 6 was a 30-yarder. There were guys running open. If ULM's quarterback could have completed half of his passes, then those stats are a little different. It says a lot about what Miami was able to do. And obviously, Miami's passing attack, you got to think, or rather Auburn's passing attack is going to be a lot closer to what Miami put on the field than it is to what ULM put out on the field.
Yeah, and look, I think Auburn has the ability to have a better passing attack than what Miami put on the field. It's just they've got to replicate what they did last week against a tougher opponent. Yeah. And we talked about this yesterday on our show yesterday, Brad. Like, sure, Texas A&M's pass defense is better than Samford's.
Yeah.
But it's not elite at all. I wouldn't even say it's good. It's just an SEC talented roster versus the SoCon. And I just think Peyton Thorne, with what he's been able to do in the Big Ten over the past few seasons, and what's starting to come together with his RPO-heavy style offense, like it's really kind of setting up for him to have a really solid start to conference play.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Auburn's going to win. I'm not quite ready to say that one way or the other yet, but I do think 8 points is a lot. I can't stress that enough.
One of the things that will impact it is pass rush, and that'll be a big factor both ways. We'll talk more about that throughout the week. Auburn's got to be able to get some pressure on Wegman, and their defensive line is extremely talented. You mentioned Hugh Freeze's comments in his press conference today. I thought it was very interesting that he led in his answer about Texas A&M's third down defense. He said, and he made it a point to say the phrase, "I want to be really clear." He said that phrase twice within this answer. But he said, you're getting ready to play 3 teams that over the last 4 to 5 years ranked in the top 7 to 5 in recruiting. He started with the recruiting. Now, twofold reaction to that. Number one, obviously it's true. When you recruit NFL talent on the defensive front, you have a chance to compete for your conference championship. If you can run the ball, stop the run, if you have NFL talent on both lines, you're going to have a chance to compete for a championship. Jimbo knows that. Hugh Freeze knows that. Everybody knows that.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought as a side note to that, isn't it interesting that that's the scope, that's the lens through which Hugh Freeze first chose to address the matchup? I think that tells you it's further confirmation that this coach is focused on recruiting. This coach gets it. He understands everything starts with the guys you're able to bring into your program. And I think Auburn fans ought to be very excited about that. It's just another example, just another note of confirmation that he gets it.
But he added a quick little quip in there as well. He's like, and we'll get there. We'll be there soon. I forgot exactly what he said, but it's like, okay, I hear you, coach. Yeah. I hear you.
Like,
the recruiting is coming.
8 months for half of a recruiting class. Like, hey guys, don't worry. We know we're still getting after it. We're headed in that direction. So I think everything goes through that lens.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. And look, it really helps you recruit against those guys if you're able to beat them in their house, right?
Yeah.
And they'll have the opportunity to do that this Saturday against A&M at College Station. And then obviously 2 weeks after that, when they go to Baton Rouge to take on LSU. And that would be, I think, a win in either of those situations would be huge for this team.
You know who had a huge weekend?
Tell me.
That would be you if you used Lance's Lock to help you pick your games. He had a really good weekend. Lanceslock.com is where you need to go to get the best price on the monthly and annual packages, multiple picks every week. Sign up today, get the best deal at lanceslock.com. Why would you go anywhere else? Lanceslock.com, going to get you covered, going to make you money. It's good for everybody.
All right. We talking about the running game now? I've been wanting to talk about Jeremiah Cobb since we clicked record, Brad.
Well, and apparently Hugh Freeze is excited to talk about Jeremiah Cobb. Anybody says the word running back, running game, get the R sound out of his mouth, and he's ready to talk about Jeremiah Cobb. We say it every week. You're going to see more and more of the freshman.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody asked him, Coach, you love the weather down here? He's like, Jeremiah Cobb's going to have a role in this offense. Okay, Coach. All right, cool. No, we saw him used a little bit differently against Samford, lining up at wide receiver and motioning in. He's got the athleticism to be all over the field. He, so far this year, is filling the role that I thought Brian Batty would on offense. And Jeremiah Cobb's just been so special where you can't keep him off the field, which is a great situation to have. But, the running game, we've talked about it. You need it. These guys are going to get touches for sure, but I'm not expecting them to be the heroes of the game if Auburn were to win on Saturday, unless they do. So, man, if Auburn can run the ball on Texas A&M, 9 wins automatically becomes more of a thing, which would be wild. But I think these guys are going to have a role, but I don't think they're going to be the reason why Auburn wins or loses on Saturday.
I think the breakdown of carries through the first 3 games, I'm curious to see how much it changes going forward. If you have, at what point does one running back get 15 carries or more in a game? We haven't come close to that. Jarquez got 11 against Samford. That was it. I mean, that's been the high watermark for a running back for carries through the first 3 games of the year. I just don't get the sense from the press conference that you're going to see a guy get 23 carries for 140 yards and have a stat line like that in the game.
Yeah, and I don't know why you would, because they're all so good in different things. And honestly, like Damari Austin, I think, is taking some of those passing reps that I thought were going to go to Jarquez Hunter.
Yeah.
Damari's like 5th on the team in targets. He's had 5. He's caught all 5. I think all 5 of them have been pretty close to the line of scrimmage. But I thought those targets and receptions would go to Jarquez.
Yeah.
And they really haven't. And Jarquez has played 1 fewer game, sure. But, I mean, the game plan that happens on Saturday is going to be the one that kind of tells us, okay, this is really what this coaching staff thinks about the running game. Like, if Jarquez gets 8 touches and Damari gets 8 touches and Cobb gets 6 touches and Batty gets 4, it's like, okay, wow, maybe they really do like Austin that much to be, you know, giving him as much action as Jarquez Hunter. Yeah. I can't wait to see it, because we haven't really seen a normal game yet. Cal wasn't a normal game because of the flow of it. Sanford certainly wasn't a normal game. Yeah. So I think this is going to be kind of the first normal game of the season to see what it looks like.
Yep. And then to come back to the point, how does Jeremiah Cobb get worked into that mix? We've seen him on reverses. We've seen him throw the little swing pass out. Getting him in space has been a key. And he was asked how that process went down, and he kind of chuckled when he answered the question. He goes, just figure out a play we want him to run, and then we insert him in as the personnel and run it. That's how you do it. You got to find ways to get your most electric players the ball. And so what do you think? All right, over under 4.5 touches for Cobb against Texas A&M.
I said 4 just a second ago. So I'll say over. That's a good line, I think. That's a good line.
Thank you very much.
Over, you should work for mybookie.ag.
All right, over under touches for Jarquez, 13.5.
Under.
Okay.
Under, yeah.
Damari, 8.5.
Over.
Okay. So you think more of an even split between Damari and Jarquez in the game?
I do. And look, once again, I think the game plan, I'm guessing, but I think in a passing situation, I think Damari should be on the field over Jarquez right now.
Okay.
Is that a hot take?
Nah, I don't know.
It took you hesitated. You're like, you processed it for a second. You're like, is that ridiculous?
I don't think it's ridiculous. I'm just thinking how many plays Jarquez made catching the ball out of the backfield the last 2 years. And
I'm with you, but I'm looking over like the last few weeks.
Well, that's fair.
Yeah, that's all we can look at. You know?
Especially if Jarquez is still trying to get over an ankle thing. Like if he's twinged that ankle, then then his touches go down and Damari's go up. You got to have the healthy guy.
If you had no prior knowledge of this roster before this year, the eye test would tell you Damari Austin is way better than Jarquez Hunter.
I can't really. I don't think I can.
Now that's not, the last 2 weeks aren't like everything, right? Jarquez Hunter is very good.
Yeah,
he's very, very good.
Yeah, that's not to disparage Jarquez. That's 100%. Damari,
yeah. Damari's just been great, and they've gone to him. They've gone to him in the passing game, and I think they're going to have to pass the ball a lot on Saturday, and so that's kind of why I'm thinking Damari may have a bigger role on Saturday.
Yeah, I can see that. I think you got to take advantage of swing passes, screens.
I think he's better at pass protection too, like blitz pickups. I'm pretty sure he's better at that too. So I'll confirm that in a second. But I'm really, really impressed with what Damari has done so far. Nope, Jarquez Hunter is a better pass blocker. I lied, according to Pro Football Focus. But still, I think they both offer a lot of upside at different things, and it's great that Auburn has both of them, and Brian Batty and Jeremiah Cobb. It's a great situation.
Absolutely love it. All right, we're going to talk about A&M a lot more as this week goes on. For today, you got any other thoughts?
Nope, Brad. I think it just about does it.
Very good. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for liking, subscribing, commenting. Remember, everyone has vices. Make sure Village Vice is one of yours.